Ben, have you ever had a job that's not being Ben Shapiro?
Hey everyone, Sal here again with Simply Investing. Go watch this guy's full video as he goes back and forth with Ben Shapiro on this. But they're both these guys are kind of right. So, yes, podcasting, news, all that, it's not physically hard, right? It's not physically hard. I know the topic's about retirement, but let me cover this first. I own a moving company and a cleaning company, and that is physically hard. I have partnership in a construction company. That's even more hard work, for like physically hard work, right? So I understand. There's differences there's mentally taxing jobs and there's physically taxing jobs. And both of them would have very comfortable jobs compared to a lot of the jobs out there. As far as retiring, yes, there are people that, you just want to retire, that want to work, then retire and not have to work forever. And I'll say this, when I was 20, my goal was to retire. Like I was working at Radio Shack at one point, one of the worst companies to work for in America, voted like second worst next to, I think it was Dillard's at the time. And it was a rough place. It sucked. It was mostly draining, everything. It just sucked. I hated all of it. But I learned a lot. I learned how to make a profit in a company that had almost no profit on any of the shit they were selling. So, there's that. I learned a lot about about how to build my businesses and going forward. But if you were to talk to me at 30, when I was working the corporate grind, I was a regional manager for Radio Shack at the time. I would have said I want to retire, and I was on my way saving to retire. I was saving and investing everything so I could be retired at 40. Well, I left Radio Shack when I was 30, went to go work for a furniture store company till I was about 35, and then I started my business. And I kind of see both sides because my grandpa was like this too. He worked and worked and worked. He built his architectural firm up. He worked for 40 years. He came back from World War II, became an architect, went to Princeton, and then he, got his degree and, went to be an architect and built his own firm. And he passed away 2 years after he retired. But my dad's kind of different, and he loved teaching. My dad was a teacher for 42 years, loved teaching. But once he hit 68, he retired and said, I am done. And I get it. I really do get it. Like, sometimes you're just not able to keep up anymore, even with the jobs you want to do, and you have to retire. And sometimes, everyone's personality is different. Sometimes you might be a type of person that really isn't cut out to work 40 years. You might be cut out to work 20. And if that's the case, then you really got to save and invest, because when you turn 40, you got a lot of years ahead. But I never thought I would be in the position where I don't think I'll ever retire, because I own businesses, I'm always working, and I enjoy doing it. I'm not saying you have to be like me, but also working in the finance industry. When I started, I was in there in the early 2000s as a broker for a private equity firm. I could tell you this, that you can retire by 40 if you make some hard sacrifices and choices in your 20s and early 30s. Because then by the time you hit 35, your career has accelerated, your income has increased, you have your compound interest on your investments are starting to pay worth. Because I tell people every time, in order for you to retire early and relatively young at 40, 45, you need to invest heavily in investment funds, then take money and get rental properties and make sure you have a reserve for yourself and the whole time. And if you're working for a corporation, make sure you're fully investing into your 401k. That will set you up to have a nice net worth of a few $1,000,000 that you can retire. But you also got to keep in mind ailments, because, retiring because you have an ailment isn't good either, because you have to pay for that. You have to have money for that. You have to have insurance. And right now, I mean, if you retire because you have cancer, you might be going back to the workplace after you recover from cancer, even if you recover from cancer, let alone all the stress and BS that goes with that. So my take, folks, is they're both right and they're both wrong at the same time. But I think that if you're working a job that you don't like, make sure you are investing and saving and doing everything you can to set yourself into a position where if you don't like the job, you can leave at any time. If they lay you off, you're like, whatever, I'm going off and doing something else. Like that's how you got to set yourself up. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of effort and frugality to go from 0 to 1,000,000. But once you get to 1,000,000, and you could probably get there from 20 to 30 by doing the frugal hardship train, you'll get there. But you're not going to be able to take advantage of that compound interest properly unless if you get to at least $1 million net worth. And unfortunately, a lot of Americans aren't even getting to that point to retire. And we're kind of all pointing fingers. But really, in my experience and looking at all the data, if you work hard from 20 to 30 and live frugally and save like crazy and invest everything you can and really build yourself up, by the time you're 30, you can really say F you to your job and walk off. If they lay you off, you shrug your shoulders. I'm going to go do something else for a couple of years. That's what you got to do. But keep in mind, watch this channel, watch their guys' stuff. Like and subscribe, follow me, go visit our YouTube channel, watch all our lives there with me and Cody on there. We're talking about all things business, finance, crypto, stocks, all that stuff. We just have fun talking about it. Thank you guys. We'll check you guys later.